It is the game that has by far the closest odds when it comes to Vegas lines.
Yeah.
This game is a man, it swung a little bit. It was at first it opened up as a 1.5 point favorite for the Buffalo Bills. Now it's a 1.5 point favorite for the visiting Baltimore Ravens team, but it's right there. It feels like it's a coin flip of a game of two of the
Yeah.
best teams in the NFL, teams that could absolutely win the Super Bowl this year. A lot to talk about here in this matchup, but specifically, what is a matchup that you think matters the most here, Carmen?
It is the respective front sevens of each of these teams versus quarterbacks that can go off script.
Okay.
Because you look at the way that Josh Allen does Josh Allen things, and you almost hope that the initial play breaks down because then he just works magic after that. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who is capable of the same thing. Both of these guys, tied for the league lead or the quarterback lead in this last week for scrambles. They both had 4 scrambles each. Um, they were 1 and 2 in so many different categories, especially if you're looking at, again, last week. Allen, second best passing grade of last week, 85.5. Lamar led last week with the best passing grade of 92.6. They're 1 and 2 in completion rate. And Baltimore, as a team, last week, they had the third best grade versus bootlegs and scrambles. Great. 2 sacks last week on such plays. They're still able to get to the quarterback. That's all well and good. Advantage Baltimore because the Bills were 11th out of 12 in their grade against bootlegs and scrambles.
Hmm.
So that's something that I think is a huge discrepancy between these two teams. They're both going to have to deal with it. They both actually were bottom 4 in pressure percentage on such plays.
Hmm.
So there's a little bit of symmetry there. But at the same time, the Ravens have shown that they are much, much better against scrambling quarterbacks. You're going to need that versus Josh Allen. You're going to need to hold coverage. You're going to need to blanket your guys for 5, 6, 7 seconds at some points during this game because Josh Allen is so, so good at creating out of absolutely nothing. You're going to need to contain him as much as possible. Don't let him get runs on you. On the flip side, the Bills are going to have to do that with the Ravens. And the Ravens have proven that they are much better at handling guys like that than the Buffalo Bills have. So I'm really interested to see who gets the better of each other because, again, I think whoever can contain the quarterback the best of these teams, that's going to go a long way with who ends up winning.
I think that is certainly a fair assessment there. You know, it's two superhuman quarterbacks who are going up
Yeah.
against each other, and it might just be the one who is allowed to make the one extra superhuman play that makes
Yeah.
the difference. And if that's the case, well, I'm pretty happy for all of us getting to watch the game because it's going to be one of the best football games that we've ever seen. I am still a little worried about this Buffalo Bills run defense. And the matchup that matters to me is the rushing game of the Baltimore Ravens, which has been absolutely dominant throughout the entire season with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, going up against a Buffalo Bills team that has struggled to defend the run throughout the season. The Bills, 27th in total team run defense grade this season. But in particular, I brought this up last week. I thought, okay, if there's an area where the Broncos might be able to take advantage here, it might be this. The interior defensive line, specifically the Bills, 30th in the NFL in run defense grade. Now, I thought that was going to be an advantage for the Broncos, who have one of the
Yes.
better run blocking interior offensive lines in the league, led by Quinn Miners, but it just was not a good day by them. So, shout out to Buffalo. They had a 67.0 run defense grade against the Broncos last week, still a 50.0 run blocking, or sorry, a run defense grade. From their interior defensive linemen. So it wasn't the best day, but it was good enough to really neutralize the Broncos on the ground. It's a different beast with the Baltimore Ravens, though. And the matchup that matters that I'm looking forward to is not just the fact that the Bills have struggled to defend the run this season versus the Ravens, who are one of, if not the best team in the NFL at rushing the football, but in a little bit more of a micro sense, the Ravens had their highest rushing grade last week on outside zone runs,
Mhm.
78.5 rushing grade on outside zone runs. So that doesn't exactly attack the Bills were their weakest in run defense. Now, maybe they just say, hey, this is what works for us. King Henry's been fantastic at it. We're just going to continue to block it up this way, because Tyler Linderbaum had an elite run blocking grade last week as an outside zone runner, as the center and the centerpiece of that offensive line executing those plays. And so if they want to just lean into what worked well for them last week, I still think they could do that. I don't think that's a bad decision. But do the Ravens switch it up a little bit? Do the Ravens play a little bit more between the tackles, a little bit more gap, a little bit more power, a little bit more duo in between the tackles to try to really push the Buffalo Bills interior defensive line when it comes to defending the run game in a way that they haven't been so successful with throughout this season? So to me, it's more of just saying, oh, you got to defend Derrick Henry. It's specifically the fact that the Bills haven't been great at it, and it's a little bit of a stylistic conflict here of, does Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, did they just keep doing what they were doing last week and it worked really well for them? Or do they switch it up a little bit and get a little bit more powerful between the tackles for those runs there with how they want to attack Buffalo's front? So to me, that's a big time matchup that matters of how and how effective it is for Baltimore in that regard.
And that was the plus factor that I had for this team. Not only was it really the run defense, but it was Matt Milano. Because if you look at the last time these two teams played, Matt Milano wasn't on the field. And then if you look at his run defense grade last week versus the Broncos, 78.3 run defense grade, ranked 7th among linebackers. And Broncos only had 79 yards rushing in that game. And that was, again, the biggest thing with this, or biggest question mark, I should say, with this Buffalo defense has been the run defense. So I do think that Matt Milano specifically should make a huge amount of difference. We've already seen that happen in the wild card round. That needs to continue for all of the reasons you just said against Baltimore this week.
And then my plus factor in this one, I'm going to stay with the rushing attack, although I'm going to flip sides and I'm going to go to Buffalo's side of things, because when I really thought about it, and something that I've talked about over the last, I would say the better part of a month, is that I love this Buffalo Bills team when they are able to stay balanced, right? When they are able to be a balanced football team, run the ball very well. James Cook over 100 rushing yards. So I almost just picked out James Cook, just as the plus factor in this one, because if he's rushing well, we know all the different options that Josh Allen could go to and how it unlocks Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator. But specifically, I actually want to shout out the Buffalo Bills offensive line a little bit more. Their run blocking,
not gotten enough love. Aaron Kromer doing really good things.
And I think they've gotten a little bit more love, deservingly so, over the last couple of weeks. But again, just to sort of like give context to how well they're playing, James Cook right now, actually just throughout the whole regular season, 65.8 of his yards have come after contact. Now, you may think that's a lot, but that actually only ranks 32nd out of 46 running backs in the league that got at least 100 carries this season. That's a Buffalo Bills run blocking stat. I'm not taking anything away from James Cook. He's got dynamic ability. He is somebody that, can break open explosive runs. I think the yards per carry average can be good for him. But when you look at the yards before contact from them, it's a big time Buffalo Bills offensive line stats. So shout out to those guys. And actually the plus factor is, can you continue to run block in a very solid way? Can you complement that with what Josh Allen is as a runner? What Ty Johnson and Ray Davis and James Cook have been as runners throughout this season? Can you continue to run the football? Because if you can, and you can remain balanced, again, it's just going to be a firework performance of a game. So this might be a throwback game, Carmen. This might just be run games. It might just be two Rams just bashing their head against each other, though. We all want the sexy, we want the flair, we want the Lamar Jackson and the Josh Allen and all that, but it might just be some old school football. And you know what? I'm never going to be mad when that's the case. No. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.